Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the life of a true giant of history, a man whose face is carved on a mountain and whose legacy defines a nation, Abraham Lincoln. We all know him as the 16th president, the great emancipator who led America through its darkest hour. But what if I told you that the secret to his monumental success wasn't a string of victories, but a long, grueling history of failures? It's a story of resilience that's more relevant today than ever. So, let's rewind the clock. Long before the White House, Lincoln was just a young man from a humble background in Kentucky with a hunger to make a difference. His early life was marked by hardship and loss, but he was determined. At just 22, he entered his first business venture with a partner, buying a small general store. Sounds like the start of an American dream, right? Well, within a year, the business failed, leaving Lincoln with a mountain of debt that took him nearly 2 decades to repay. He famously called it the national debt. For most people, this would be a crushing blow, a sign to maybe try something else. But for Lincoln, it was just the first lesson in a long, hard education. Undeterred, he set his sights on politics. A year after his business failed, at age 23, he ran for the Illinois state legislature. He campaigned hard, but he lost. Another setback. Did he quit? Not a chance. He tried again 2 years later and finally won, serving 4 terms. This small victory was a foothold, a sign that persistence pays off. It was during this time he taught himself law, passing the bar exam and becoming a respected attorney. He was building his reputation, brick by painful brick. But the path to greatness is rarely a straight line. In 1838, he aimed to become the Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives. He was defeated. In 1843, he sought the Whig Party's nomination for Congress. He was defeated. He did eventually win a single term in the U.S. House of Representatives in 1846. But he wasn't particularly popular for his stance against the Mexican-American War, and he didn't even seek re-election. He seemed to be stalling out, a one-term wonder. After his term in Congress, Lincoln stepped back from politics, focusing on his law practice. It might have looked like he was giving up on his larger ambitions. He even tried for the position of land officer in his home state and was rejected. Imagine that. The future president couldn't even get a local government job. This period of his life, often called his wilderness years, was filled with introspection and study. He was watching the country, particularly the growing venomous debate over slavery, and his own convictions were deepening. Then came the turning point. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed new territories to decide on the issue of slavery for themselves, reignited Lincoln's political fire. He saw it as a moral crisis for the nation. He ran for the U.S. Senate that same year, and guess what? He lost. Again. But this campaign was different. His speeches were gaining attention. His voice was becoming more powerful, his arguments more refined. Each failure was sharpening him like a whetstone on a blade. 4 years later, in 1858, came one of his most famous defeats. He ran for the Senate again, this time against the formidable Stephen A. Douglas. This campaign gave us the legendary Lincoln-Douglas debates. Lincoln delivered his famous House Divided speech arguing that a nation half slave and half free could not stand. He debated with brilliance, moral clarity, and even wit. Though he ultimately lost the election, he won the national argument. His performance on that stage catapulted him into the national spotlight. The country was finally paying attention to this lanky lawyer from Illinois. This loss, perhaps the most public of his career, directly set the stage for his greatest triumph. 2 years later, in 1860, the brand-new Republican Party was looking for a presidential candidate. They needed someone with a strong moral stance against the expansion of slavery, but who was also seen as a moderate who could hold the country together. Thanks to the reputation he built during his failed Senate campaign, Lincoln was their man. He secured the nomination and went on to win the presidency. Think about that journey. failed businessman, multiple-time political loser, becomes the President of the United States. Of course, the ultimate test was yet to come. His election immediately triggered the secession of Southern states and the start of the Civil War. As president, Lincoln faced unimaginable pressure, military defeats, political backstabbing, and the staggering human cost of war. He was often criticized, ridiculed, and second-guessed by his own cabinet and generals. There were many moments when the Union cause seemed lost, when another failure seemed inevitable. But through it all, Lincoln drew on the lessons from his entire life. His humility, forged in defeat, allowed him to listen to others and admit when he was wrong. His persistence, honed over decades of setbacks, gave him the strength to carry on when all seemed hopeless. He understood that progress wasn't about avoiding failure, but about learning from it, growing stronger and never losing sight of the ultimate goal. He once said, "My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure." Lincoln was never content with failure. He saw it not as a final judgment, but as a stepping stone. It was preparation. Every loss, every setback, every moment of doubt was forging the character, wisdom, and resolve he would need to lead a nation through its greatest trial and ultimately redefine the meaning of freedom for generations to come. His journey teaches us a powerful truth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. It's the crucible where greatness is formed. So the next time you face a setback, a rejection, or a failure, think of Abraham Lincoln. Remember the man who failed in business, lost 8 different elections, and had a nervous breakdown, yet rose to become one of the most revered leaders in world history. Your current struggle isn't the end of your story. It might just be the training ground for your destiny. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the lessons of history. Let me know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to see covered next. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and never give up. See you in the next video.